Right, we have a 2004 Ford Expedition here with the 5.4. He told me when he gives it gas, it sounds like it's got a tinny or a metal noise to it. And he said the check engine light came on about a day afterwards. So I took it for a drive when it was cold, and the noise he's talking about is detonating or pinging the engine. And I checked the codes, and we got P0171 and a P0174. System 2 lean on bank 1 and bank 2. So we're going to go in and look at the short and long-term fuel trims and see what they say, just as a baseline, and get an idea of what's going on. But since it's on both banks, I'm not going to look too closely at O2 sensors or anything like that yet until what I'm going to do is smoke test it. And full disclosure, I've had this truck in here probably 2 or 3 times for similar codes, and it's always like a cracked, it's got 220,000 on it or something like that, and it's been the last few times it's been a cracked vacuum hose or something like that. So it's kind of what I'm going to be looking for or expect to find. When we look at it, I'm just trying to find the fuel trims right now so we can take a look at it and see what they say, and then we know if we fix it and it goes down, then we know we found the problem. But with the engine running lean, it can make that pinging noise. All right, so actually the short term doesn't look too bad, but long term we're at 17.9, and then long term 2% we're at 14.4. So that's fairly high. So let's go ahead. I'm going to shut it off, and we'll smoke this thing out and see what we find. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just take this cover off so I can see the intake. Should be 11 millimeters. 2 of them on here. We're missing one in this. And then on the passenger side, it just snaps in. So, just going to kind of set this off to the side somewhere. And on this thing, I've been going into the, putting the smoke in over here. I got one of those bladders I use to fill it up, and then, so it's just a regular flathead. I realize most people aren't going to have a smoke machine, but this is what I'm going to use to find it. Now this is a bladder, and you can just pump this up by hand, and you get it to where it fills this up. Now you do have to be careful. It's got this air sensor here. You can poke these bladders and pop them, so you got to be careful with that when you stick them in there. Make sure there's nothing around there that can poke them. They're pretty durable, but if you fill them up real tight, and then there's something like that sticking on the side of it, it'll blow out. This is a pretty big air intake, so it's about max for what this bladder will fill up. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up, and then we'll pick it back up. All right, so I got the bladder filled up. It won't come out, and I got the smoke machine on. Hopefully you can see that smoke. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in here. We're just gonna wait and see if we can find any smoke anywhere that we're not supposed to be finding it. We'll get some out of the EGR probably. That's pretty common. But I'm looking for smoke anywhere else, maybe the intake manifold, or the last few times it's been back there on some of those lines. So far, not seeing anything. Yep. There's a little bit coming out over here by the master cylinder. So we got some coming out by the EGR. That's pretty common. There's a bunch coming out over here. It's coming out right into the master cylinder. Okay. If I unplug this brake booster, put my hand on it, you can see it's pouring out of this valve. It's called a check valve. There's actually a crack right here. And with me holding the finger over the hole, it's just pouring out of there straight. So I don't see it anywhere else. I'll probably let it run a little bit and make sure it's not coming out anywhere else. And I'm going to take this off, and we'll go get one real quick at the auto parts store and put it back together and see how the fuel trims look after this is replaced. And we'll pick this back up in a moment. All right, so it just has a regular clamp on it. It's not a worm gear clamp or anything. It's just a regular clamp. So I just use a pair of pliers and compress it. I'm going to try to show you here. Yep, turn it around. A little bit of delay when I look at the. There's a crack right here, and it goes all the way, almost all the way down to the where it goes into the booster. So this crack right here is where all the air is escaping and letting in air on the intake. So I actually went to Ford. Nobody in St. Louis had it for 80 miles. So I went to the auto parts store and we looked in their help section, and they have this, and it comes with a new seal going to the booster, and then it has the new check valve. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in real quick. And and if you never pulled one of these out, these booster, this plug here just pulls out. Sometimes they're a little stiff to get out, but especially if they're older, but just pull it out straight. And this is, it's just that gas, that little seal holds it in. And there's not a lot of pressure or anything on these, so it's not like it's gonna do anything, but you'll probably hear air release from it. But all it is, this just pushes in there, and then the hose goes on here, and there's a little push clamp. So Ford didn't have it, and I got this from the O'Reilly's help section. It's 80189. 80189. It's a Dorman part, and I would have rather used Ford's. I think Ford's is about the same price. It's like $7 or $8 for the part, and then whatever. So, but this is in the help section. It's not actually behind the counter or anything. So we're gonna go ahead and install it, and then we're gonna start it. Just look at the fuel trim and see if they make a change, and we'll smoke it one more time and make sure it's not smoking. All right, I've had the smoke machine on now for a few minutes. You can see it's smoking out the EGR like I said it normally does. Don't see any other leaks anywhere. I'm checking real close over here. There's no smoke coming up over here, and that almost got me because I thought maybe the power booster itself was leaking around the seal, maybe by the master cylinder, or even where they put the power booster together. There's a little bit of rust on the bottom of that power booster. I thought maybe it was coming out of there, but after I moved the hose around, I could tell, that this was cracked. So been running now about 3 or 4 minutes. I don't see an issue anywhere, so I think we're good. What we're going to do now is take the bladder out, take this off, and then take the machine off, put it back together, and start it up and see if the long-term fuel trims correct themselves. We were at 17 or 18 and then 13 or 14 on the 1% and 2%, so we'll see if that goes down, starts to correct itself. Maybe take it on a trip, little short jaunt, and see how low it gets. And if it goes back down, then we know that that's the only leak it has. And we'll be good to go here. Hopefully it'll stop making the pinging noise when it's cold. And when it warms up, it stops detonating, but when it's cold, it does it a lot. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together, and then we'll check it out. All right, so I just took it on a ride. Went on the highway for a few miles, not very long, and you can see here we're down to 4.3 on bank 2 and 7.4% on bank 1. So we definitely fixed that problem more than likely. Probably won't get much lower than this, just because of the miles on this vehicle and all the plastics that's on it that's been going bad. I don't see it getting down much lower than this. I mean, the bank 1 maybe should be a little bit lower. I'd like to see that, like where bank 2 is at 4.3% right now. I wouldn't mind seeing bank 1 at around that, maybe around that, but anything under 10% on a car with this many miles and stuff, I mean, it's not great to have it that. My guess is there might be another little small leak somewhere. I think what I'm going to do, and I also heard another noise. It sounded like a tensioner maybe. So what I think I'm going to do is I might hook the smoke machine back up to it and see if I can find another leak anywhere, and then see if I can find that noise I'm hearing. It's not the pinging and detonating noise I heard earlier. It's different noise. All that's went away, but of course I haven't had it all the way cool either, so I need to let it cool down for a few hours and then take it out and see if it's still pinging. But there is another noise besides that, and it sounds maybe like a tensioner or something, but it only does it under load, and it only does it around 2,000 RPM. And if I sit here and brake torque it, it won't do it. So it's kind of irritating that you get one of those noises where it only does it when you're driving and at certain times. So I'm going to maybe try to see if I can find that real quick and maybe smoke it one more time just to see if I can get this bank 1 to come down. And I'll check bank 1 real good for any kind of leak. But it looks like bank 2 is doing pretty well at 4%, so I'm not going to worry about that one too much. Even bank 1 at idle here is a little bit higher. I like to see it. It's going to 8 and then down to 4 to 3 and then 7 and then 4. So there might be a tiny leak still on bank 1. I might also look at the O2 sensors and make sure, I don't know how old they are, and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. But anyway, I know most people don't have a smoke machine, so it's going to be a little difficult to check something like this at home. They do sell cheap ones on eBay. I've seen them, like homemade smoke machines, and people have made homemade smoke machines. So if it's something that if you work on your car quite a bit at home, that might be something you might want to invest in or look into. The one I have, I think, was around $250, $300, which is pretty cheap. I know some of them go up to 1,000 or more, and even more than that. So, you just got to decide on how much you work on cars and all that. But anyway, I think I'm just going to do more investigation on this. I think for all intents and purposes, it's probably fixed as far as the check engine light and all that. But I do want to investigate a little bit farther with this noise and the little bit higher trims on bank 1. But other than that, I think we're going to end this video out on this. And thanks for watching, as always, and God bless.